The charisma of horses brings wonders and attractions for humans. I still remember during my childhood, I was so fascinated by stories of heroes on horses.
Kurpat Media, My Chat series, Vinoshni Shankar.
Today we are at MEM, Majlis Equine, Malaysia, with Dato Malik to know more about horses.
How will you define and explain this companionship of human and horses?
First of all, we have to understand that the domestication of the horse took place around 6,000 years ago. And over the years, they have found that the horse was, besides being a source of food, they found that it could be a beast of burden to be used, for work and so on and so forth. And until very recently, the horse has been utilized through various breeding activities and so on to provide pleasure to a large society, throughout the world. And therefore the horse is something that people utilize today for sport, for racing, and more importantly, of recent times, they are being used as a means for therapeutic purposes, you see. So it is certainly an animal that has found its way into the hearts of the humans.
Before, I was fascinated and attracted about the charisma of horses, but today I come to realize horses are beyond companionship. I have heard horses used for rehabilitation purposes. Dato, can you please explain to us more about it?
Well, again, the use of the horse for rehabilitation purposes goes back a long way as well. 3,000 to 4,000 years from the days of the Greeks, when armies went to war and soldiers get injured and so on and so forth, to rehabilitate them to become normal persons again. The horse was used then, all right? And it is something that we have found it very useful as a complementary medicine. In modern times, starting from about the 60s, 1960s and so on, particularly in the United States, and you had a lot of war veterans from Vietnam coming back, and the horse was used for persons with post-traumatic experiences in the war. And organizations have started to be formed and so on, and using horses for a variety of rehabilitative purposes. A good example is, in psychotherapy, in hippotherapy, and so on and so forth, and riding for the disabled are part of the usage of the horse.
Okay, Dato, what do you think about rehabilitation using horses in Malaysia, or we can say as hippotherapy?
It is extremely new to Malaysians, whilst in other parts of the world it has been established for a few decades now, you see, but Malaysians are, now there are groups and, people who have invested in this sort of therapy as a business concern, that more and more Malaysians are getting to know the fact that horses as a complementary therapy to people affected with a variety of issues, that they could be rehabilitated, in that sense of the word, to be useful, to be able to fend for themselves to a certain extent, you see, through procedures by qualified therapists using the horse as a medium for rehabilitation.
Dato, apart from the rehabilitation purposes, I also have heard that horses are used in leadership programs. How does horse help to bring out someone's leadership quality?
I think what is very important to understand is that the horse has a mind of its own, and you have to have the ability to be able to communicate with the animal, all right, and to get him to be one with you in whatever you would like him to do. For example, jumping obstacle or doing a dressage test and so on and so forth. These are skills that you establish primarily because of your understanding of the horse. How do you are in sync with the horse? You don't ride a horse, you are with the animal. You know, you are one with the animal, and whatever signals that you can provide to the horse to do whatever you would like him to do, he does it because you have communicated with him in the right manner. That's very important, all right? It's extremely important, because if you send the wrong signals to the horse, he wouldn't understand you and he wouldn't do what you want him to do. You see what I mean? So that understanding, that's the beauty of that. And confidence, yes indeed, I mean leadership. The horse is a huge animal, he's very powerful and so on and so forth, and for you to be able to control him, yes, and that in itself brings out the leadership in you.
Interesting, Dato. While you were saying, we've been observing an example. At a point, Kashi had lost his control of his horse, and we saw him getting back the horse in control and made him calm. So this exercise makes anyone a leader. Uncontrolled situation to calmness. Dato, what is the role of MEM in Malaysia for equestrians?
Well, I think the role and function of MEM is grossly misunderstood by society. You know, we're not a sports organization. There are sports organizations that develop equine sports or equestrian sports activities like polo, show jumping, the Olympic disciplines, polo, riding therapy, and so on and so forth. However, it must be, one must understand that the fact there is in existence in Malaysia the industry of the horse. There are people who are breeding horses for the purpose of income generating activity. There are people who are manufacturing horse feed in Malaysia, and the horse feed that is being manufactured in Malaysia is being exported to 11 countries as far away as Sweden. So, and we used to manufacture horseshoes, we used to manufacture implements for the horse, you know, and so it is an industry. And what is an industry if the element of training and education is not part of the industry? You have to have education, training and education to qualify people for the job that they do. And our role, therefore, is to address these issues that are required by the industry. Coaching, for example, we need a lot more coaches if we wanted to develop the sport. We need services like veterinarians, we need services like the farrier, for example, the most important service for the horse industry. We need people who have been trained as dental technicians, because horses, like human beings, need to have their teeth examined once every 6 months. And there's a host of services which the horse needs. Nutritionists, that's another example. How do you feed a horse, when to feed the horse, what to feed the horse, and so on. So that's our role. And we are so glad that the government has recognized training for the horse industry in Malaysia. All right? And not many countries in this region where the government has taken cognizance of the fact that people need to be trained for the horse industry in Malaysia. And our role now is that to accept, or for the government to accept the horse as a livestock animal to that extent. It's not parked under any ministry. If you go to any ministry in the country and ask where does the horse park under, not even sport, not even tourism, not even agriculture, but it should be parked under agriculture. And our mission for 2023 is to convince the government that the horse is contributing to the GDP of the country, all right? And it should be recognized, and the people who are servicing the industry need to be assisted through government funding and so on, right?
Thank you, Dato, for enlightening us about the horse industry in Malaysia.
So shall we get a selfie with you, Dato?